Welcome to Write with Love. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author to learn more. Now here's today's show. G'day and welcome to Write with Love. Today I'm chatting to award-winning historical romance writer Elizabeth Allen Carter. Hi Elizabeth, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's wonderful to be chatting with you.
Wonderful, yeah. So tell us about your story and how you got into this amazing career.
Oh, I've always been a writer. When I ran out of things to read when I was a kid, I started writing my own books. I started writing a girl detective story on my mother's typewriter. And when I grew a little older, I realized that being a novelist probably wasn't a first start career. So then I moved into journalism because at least they pay me to write. And it's so funny. People say, "Oh, you're really good at creative writing. You should be a journalist." And it's sort of, in a way, creative writing is the worst quality you can have as a journalist because you're supposed to be dealing with facts. So I didn't do too well in the hard news department. I really liked features, and I really liked talking to people, really exploring their motivation and going in depth. So I did that for a number of years. And in my 20s, I thought, maybe I should write a novel again. And I shudder to think back about those early stories. But I started re-exploring my love for historical. So it'll be 5 years in October that my debut novel, Moonstone Obsession, came out. And from there, I've got 7 full-length titles. The most recent one, we go do the big plug, Shadow of the Corsairs, is book 3 in a series called Heart of the Corsairs, and that's set in the Mediterranean in the early 19th century, looking at a real-life aspect of the pirates of the Barbary Coast.
Oh, fantastic. Wow, pirates. Me. Who doesn't love pirates?
So good pirates.
Good pirates. So tell us about the initial first book and how did you go about getting published? Did you have to do the submission processes and all of those sorts of things? What did you do?
Well, I wasn't sure how seriously I was going to take it because it was something to entertain myself initially. But a friend of mine, a big ex-footballer who writes jingles, said, "You know what? If you've written one of these things, you should join the Romance Writers of Australia." And they had a competition for unpublished manuscripts. And to my surprise, Moonstone Obsession made the long list. And I thought, well, maybe there's actually something to this. So I started submitting. The third group that I submitted to, a small press in the United States, said, "Yeah, we'll take it." So it was a really sort of quick entree into publishing, and I learned a heck of a lot. I realize now that even though I was a journalist by trade, I've written everything from features and news stories to even writing scripts for radio and TV. There is a real art to novel writing, which I really hadn't considered before.
There sure is, and that's why organisations like Romance Writers are so fantastic for teaching us the craft and then the business side. So that's awesome. So how long between books did you go? Did your second one come out with that same small press?
Yes, I had 3 titles with them, and sort of one a year. And it was funny. I was aware. This is the dark side of the publishing industry. I was aware that as authors, you've got to heavily promote yourself. You've really got to take control of that, which is what I did, and I was happy with that. But by the time the third book came out with this particular press, there were issues. I went through three. There were three changes of editors through the process. I didn't get my cover until an hour before release day. And I thought, no, you're not going to get another title from me again. But I'd been working on something a little different. And this is my Roman era novel called Dark Heart. And I thought, no, I really want to give this a really strong opportunity. So what I did is, while I was working on that, I still wanted to have a release for 2016. So I decided to indie publish two novellas. So the first one is Nocturne.
Nice.
And that is a Regency Gothic romance. And something a little fun for Christmas, The Thief of Hearts, which is a Victorian mystery romance. So the process after that was really interesting, because I did the big submission rounds and I got the loveliest rejection letters in the world for Dark Heart. It was sort of, yeah, it's great, love it, but we can't sell Roman. Yeah, we love it, but change the character's backstory, gut this, gut the history, do that, and we'll work with you. And it's sort of, no. No, I believe in the integrity of this story. And I came within a month of saying, you know what, I'm going to self-publish this. It will find a home. And I submitted to Catherine Levesque's imprint. And anyone who knows historical romance knows Catherine and her absolutely amazing medieval series. And within a week of submission, she sent me a contract.
Oh, wow.
And I've been absolutely delighted working with her ever since. And she's got some absolutely top draw historical romance authors. And because she specializes in that, that's just been brilliant.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. So tell us about your Regency books. So they're a bit adventure and suspense. Come on, give us some blurbs.
Okay. Well, start with this one, which is book one in the Heart of the Corsairs series.
Yeah.
That's Cliff Hardacre and Sophia Green. I love this couple a lot. The 3-book series is set in the Mediterranean towards the tail end of the Napoleonic Wars. What a lot of people don't realize is during that time as well, there was a lot of slaving from Africa into Europe. I mean, everybody knows about the transatlantic slave trade, but not a lot of people know about the pirates of the Barbary Coast. And between 1650 and 1830, between 800,000 and 1.25 million Europeans, some as far away as Iceland, were sold into slavery.
Wow.
Into Africa and Arabia. And sort of within that context, I wanted to explore that, and our darling hero Kit here is rather damaged by his experience. He was a captive of the Corsairs. His ship was captured when he was a cabin boy, and being a pretty young blonde boy, went through quite a horrific ordeal before he escaped. So his passion for vengeance is the underscoring theme in the Heart of the Corsairs series.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's really awesome. So then is the next one in that series, is it a sequel or is it just similar?
It is a sequel. That is Revenge of the Corsairs. It takes up where Captain of the Corsairs leaves off. The hero is the first officer who works with Kit Hardacre, Elias Nash, and the heroine is Laura, cousin of the heroine. And that is an exploration of post-traumatic stress disorder, and dealing with the aftermath of the horrific events, because Sophia and Laura end up in a harem themselves, and Laura, as a result of that, is pregnant to her abductor. So there is a lot of dynamic. So never let anyone tell you that romance is lightweight.
Doesn't have to be.
The opportunity to really explore deep psychological themes built on the relationships and the dynamics of men and women and family at large is that's just made for romance.
Yeah, it is. For
sure. That is romance.
Yeah, and I always think it's such a great way of exploring history as well. Like I've not heard of that before, so that's really, really fantastic. So number three
is Shadow of the Corsairs.
Yes.
That is actually a prequel to the first two, and the hero Jonathan is an Ethiopian. He's the equivalent of the son of a duke. He's the son of a Ras, and he's an explorer. He's had wanderlust all of his life. He's partnered with a German explorer, and everything is going fine. And then he is sold into slavery. The camp at the source of the Nile is raided, but he discovers that it wasn't just a random raid. He was targeted especially for abduction.
Wow.
So part of Shadow of the Corsairs is that, again, exploring love and loss, because Jonathan loses his wife and daughters, and also looking at how one rebuilds again, as well as the machinations of Ethiopian politics, would you believe?
Yeah.
Not a topic that a lot of romance writers cover, but to me, I couldn't set a series in the Mediterranean without referencing Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, does it take a lot to research this? I mean, are you just bombarded in Google and books for months?
My husband jokes that it's 5 minutes writing and 20 minutes research.
Yeah.
He's probably not far wrong. But the approach that I take is, and again, it's what you were saying before about how historical romance is a great way to explore history, because what it does is it actually, through the eyes of the hero and heroine, puts you in a particular time and place. And my favorite historical romance authors make you feel immersed in that time and place, that you can smell what they smell, and hear the sounds on the street, and it also explores what it would be like to live in that segment of time. So that's what I try and do with mine as well. Sort of really make it so people feel like they've walked in somebody else's footsteps for a few hours.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Do you get to do much travel for this? Have you been able to see these places?
Sadly not. Sadly not, which is why I really, really love Google Earth, and of course, thank goodness for the internet.
Yeah.
As much as I love my history, there's a lot I couldn't do without it, because you've got instant access to historical research from the finest universities in the world, and to produce something which has actual history as one of its underpinnings. You certainly couldn't do it at the frequency that many historical romance authors can do, without research being readily available in the comfort of one's own home.
Yes.
So I would love to. Italy is big on the bucket list because, of course, the Corsairs series is likely set in Sicily, and of course, Dark Heart being set in Rome.
Yeah.
To be able to actually walk through those places. So no, the closest so far has been San Francisco, where I was on my way to RT in May, and one of my Christmas short stories, which will be coming out with the Blue Stocking Bells in November, is set in 1920 San Francisco. So that's the most recent time period I've written so far, and that was fun, being able to walk those streets and really get a feel for the city.
Yeah, so 1920s, that's almost contemporary.
It is for me, and I guess what the thing is, one of the reasons why it feels contemporary, even though it's a century old, is because we've got this permanent record thanks to film. One of my favourite films was released in 1934. And when you think, we are talking sort of 84 years ago, and yet we can see contemporary, how they lived, what they wore, how they spoke. All of a sudden, something that was 100 years ago really does feel quite modern.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Wow. So having a background in PR, does that help you, do you think, as an author?
It helps me with deadlines.
Yep.
I can do deadlines really well. I guess what it has done, my journalism and background, is made me appreciate that there is a different style of writing. And they are completely different disciplines. So you can't just think, well, I can write a novel. I know lots of journalists who say, yeah, one day I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think, no, you're not, because the aptitude you have is in one particular skill set, which doesn't necessarily translate.
Yeah, exactly. It's brilliant. So what have you got coming out next? You got a few releases before the end of the year?
I'm crazy. I am just utterly crazy. I don't know why I do this to myself. Okay, I have, and I'll reveal this exclusively because haven't quite we're waiting for the official go date. First is going to be a short novel called The Promise of the Bells. Cora Lee is another American historical romance author. She has organized a whole bunch of authors in a loosely connected series called Legends to Love. So the brief was, take a legend from history and reimagine that story in Regency England. So I've picked Dick Whittington and his cat. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. That's going to be a childhood sweetheart story. The next on the list is the story set in San Francisco in the 1920s called A Fine Chance, and that is part of the Blue Stocking Bells anthology, and I'm pretty sure I'm not quite allowed to reveal the name of the series yet, but keep watching out for that. My publisher is also doing a Christmas anthology, so my story contribution for that is called Father's Day. So it features Kit Hardacre here, and a reunion story with his father, who is the hero of a series that I'm working on now called The King's Rose, and that is set 10 years prior to the Corsairs series. That's set in the early part of the Napoleonic Wars. Our hero Kit believes he's an orphan. My publisher asked me, look, can you do an extension? I said, well, he said, what about another relative? And I thought, his father.
Yeah.
So there's a lovely father-son reunion story. And hopefully either at the end of this year or early next, book one in the King's Road series called Live and Let Spy. The full book series has titles that are plays on James Bond films. So there's Live and Let Spy, From the Duke with Love, Spyfall, and I can't remember the other one. But they're a whole lot of fun. There'll be a little bit lighter in tone, but they'll still have lots of romance and adventure.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So there's lots to stay around and put on our to be read pile there. That's awesome. Cool. Well, where can we find you online and stay in touch and keep the eye out for all these covers and releases?
Absolutely. My website is the best place to do that, and that is ElizabethEllenCarter.com, or if having trouble writing all of that down, eecarter.com. And in my book club, if you sign up for that, I do a quarterly magazine called Love's Great Adventure, and the next edition will be coming out in mid-September.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for that today, Elizabeth. That was great.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Jump onto my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com, and join my mailing list to receive a free preview of my books and lots of other inspiration. If you like the show and want it to continue, you can become a sponsor for just a couple of dollars a month. Go to patreon.com/sarahwilliamsauthor. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review of the podcast. I'll be back next week with another loved up episode. Bye!